Diablo 4 Season 2 is about to start. Now, we could do a video where we just read out through all the patch notes like this, experience buffs, so incense now grant a bonus experience. That would be really boring. So instead, I want to cover the two most interesting changes, I think, coming to Season 2, which is the changes to resistance and the damage buckets. So first, let's start off with resistance. Starting with the Season of Blood, resistance will now stack additively, and resistance stats now cap at 70%. World Tier 3 will give a negative 25% penalty to resistance to all elements, and World Tier 4 will now apply a negative 50% penalty to the all elements instead of a multiplier. Intelligence will now only give a 0.025% all resist per 1 intelligence instead of a 0.05 resistance per intelligence. So your int characters will not get as large a buff, but they'll still have that slight edge in the all resistance. And also tied in with the resistance is the armor contribution percent. So non-physical damage reduction from armor and resistances are no longer split. Resistances now contribute their full value to non-physical damage reduction. Armor no longer contributes any non-physical damage reduction and now only reduces against physical damage. So what this will mean is you'll need to make sure you do work on leveling up your resistances. Armor will give you physical damage resistance. It won't protect you from elemental damage resistance, so you gotta watch out for that. And the devs said in the campfire chat it would be approximately level 80. You'd be able to cap out your resistances. So I don't know if that means you're gonna have to min-max using your Paragon board, gems and all that to get that max elemental resistance, but we will find out in due time, I do believe, and see how that plays out. One thing I'd also like to note is there are also ways to increase your cap resistance as well through potions, incense, and Paragon board. So next we're going to cover the damage bucket changes. With vulnerable and crit damage being the chase affixes you were looking for previously, there is the big changes coming. So first we'll start off with crit strike. So crit strike now always deals 50% multiplicative increased damage. The critical strike damage affix and critical strike damage for specific damage increases have been increased by 20%. The crit strike damage affix on swords has increased 100%. And the crit strike damage on Paragon glyphs has been increased 100% because those additional crit damages are only additive. For vulnerable, dealing damage to a vulnerable enemy, now only 20% multiplicative increased damage, but your vulnerable damage affixes have been increased by 40%. The damage affixes on crossbows have been increased 87%, and the vulnerable Paragon glyphs have been increased 100% since the rest of the affixes on your gear are only additive. Then overpower. Overpower attacks now always deal up to 50% increased damage based on your current life percentage. Overpower attacks gain plus 2% per 1% of base life you have in Fortify, and overpower attacks gain plus 2% per 1% of your base life that you have in bonus life above your base life. All overpower damage affixes have been increased 50%. The overpowered damage glyphs have been increased 33%, and the damage Paragon nodes have been increased 50%. That is because the overpower ones, as they are with crit damage and vulnerable, are also now additive, except for that 50%. So, with that in mind, there is going to be a massive rebalance of the monsters in Diablo 4 to account for these resistance and damage bucket changes. Also, a lot of the builds will become more viable now, even if you're not running the old standard of crit strike damage and vulnerable damage, which is going to be huge. It's going to open up so many more different playstyles. On top of that, we get the Season of Blood vampiric powers to play with as well in these builds. So I know I gave a very high level overview and my thoughts on these changes. I think they're going to be great for the game since it's going to open up so many more builds with each class. So I recommend you go and check out the patch notes yourself to get a more in-depth looks, because there's way more to cover than what I've done here. Or you can check out my previous video on the developer talk over some of these big quality of life changes coming. But that is all we have for today. Are you excited for Season 2 starting on October 17th? I know I am. I'm looking forward to rolling into there. Hopefully they got the rebalancing done really well with the monsters, so it's not too easy. But check out the patch notes. Check out our other videos, and we'll be here live every Tuesday and Thursday, streaming Season 2 of Diablo 4. So thanks again, everyone. Hope you have a good one. And you should check out one of these playlists that pop up here and check out some more of our stuff here. So until next time, my friends.